G'day, Ethan here. Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch with Ethan, a camping-based travel show aimed to inspire teenagers and their families to get off the couch and into the great outdoors and see some of the amazing places Australia has to offer. Now in this episode, I'm heading off on another road trip to visit the awesome places in Australia's Outback. I'm heading off to Outback New South Wales. Let's hit the road. So I headed off towards a region that's not widely known as a place to visit. It's a part of Western New South Wales known as Outback New South Wales. Now there is plenty to do out here, you've just got to know where to look. Well, I'm here along the South Australian New South Wales border, about 350 odd k's from Adelaide and about 60 k's from Broken Hill. We've nearly reached one of Australia's most iconic outback mining towns, so let's continue our journey into New South Wales. Broken Hill has got to be one of the most iconic places in the entire country. Everyone seems to talk about Broken Hill, but maybe not everyone knows exactly what Broken Hill was and what it still is today. Well, this is the outback town of Broken Hill. It's situated right along the western edge of New South Wales. Now there's plenty to explore about this historic town, so let's go check it out.
Broken Hill is a historic mining community. It starts in 1883 with a boundary rider named Charles Rasp.
You see, before Broken Hill was a town, the area was actually a sheep station, and the first settlers that came out here thought everything was pretty flat except for this small hill which they named the Broken Hill. Anyway, Charles Rasp, who worked on the station, was riding along one day when he noticed something shiny on the ground. He thought it might be tin.
Testing came back and it was silver, which much more impressive, obviously. And this started a huge mining boom.
Rasp's discovery triggered the birth of one of Australia's largest mining communities. But Broken Hill isn't just a mining town.
And Broken Hill has, from that, become not only just a mining community, there's also a huge arts community here, built off of the landscape, or the perfect light, and the interesting red sands and beautiful blue skies, as well as a huge film location.
That's right, some of Australia's most iconic movies have been filmed right out here in Broken Hill. The two most known films would have to be Mad Max and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Broken Hill has a variety of historic buildings. There are about 20 different art galleries in Broken Hill, so we have a massive art community even today, and about 10 different museums.
So as you can see, there's plenty to explore out here at Broken Hill. The breathtaking scenery is something that you'll only see in Broken Hill.
There's nothing quite like Broken Hill. There are plenty of large cities to explore, but Broken Hill is a really interesting rural community. There's a fantastic history here. There's plenty of art in the world. There's nothing quite like Broken Hill art. Get off the couch and come visit Broken Hill.
We love Broken Hill!
The next stop on my Outback New South Wales road trip is a little town just north of Broken Hill with a population of less than 50 people. It's Silverton. So I'm here at the little town of Silverton, about 25 k's from Broken Hill. Now this used to be a silver mining town along with Broken Hill, so there's plenty of historic buildings around the place, and the pub has got to be one of the most iconic pubs in Australia. It was featured in heaps of films, heaps of TV adverts, including Mad Max 2, so come check it out. Now when we rocked up here, we got a bit of an odd greeting by the local wildlife. Apparently these donkeys greet every visitor that comes into the town, so we've got a pretty up close and personal encounter while in the car. Silverton is actually the birthplace of mining in this region. Much like many other Aussie words we've come up with, Silverton is a mix between silver town. Silverton. Now you see, Silverton was actually mining silver nearly 10 years before silver was first discovered at Broken Hill. Just not a lot of it. Anyway, when our mate Charles Rasp found that bit of silver near Broken Hill, he came rushing out to guys he worked with out near Silverton today and asked whether they wanted to start digging for silver. These guys became known as the Syndicate of Seven, and they founded the Broken Hill Mining Company, which soon changed its name to Broken Hill Proprietary, which today, nearly 140 years later, is one of the largest mining companies in Australia. Now, even though the mining at Silverton has stopped because Broken Hill got so large, there's still plenty to see out here in Silverton, and it's a pretty popular tourist spot, mind you. So Silverton, come check it out. After Silverton, I thought it was time to get to the real Outback New South Wales. So we put down our tyre pressure and hit the dusty old roads. I'm heading off to a pretty cool place that might not be as well known as some, about 130 kilometres from Broken Hill. It's called Mudawinji National Park. Mudawinji is an absolutely fantastic park to explore. As well as all the fantastic wildlife on offer, the amazing views, there is something else that's pretty special about Mudawinji. The land that the park is on is quite a significantly historic Indigenous Australian site, and the park ranger here tells us why that is.
The park is a meeting place for a lot of people. The Bunjikali people who looked after it invited a lot of other people out to do ceremony, teaching, knowledge sharing, trading, all sorts of things, and this is like a central place for that.
Mudawinji has been used as a teaching ground for Indigenous Australians for thousands of years.
There isn't a lot of known knowledge to the wider Australian population, whereas these places here, which we use as our strength, can also strengthen other people's knowledges on the land, on how to look after the land, that sort of thing, and how we looked after it for thousands of years.
Plenty of evidence from Indigenous Australians can still be seen at the park today. This here is a perfect example of it. As you can see, it depicts some of the local native animals, a tortoise, a fish, and maybe even an echidna. And it's fantastic to see that this has been preserved may have been for thousands of years. As well as the extensive Indigenous history that the park has to offer, it also offers a wide range of natural wonders. There is plenty of wildlife on offer, including kangaroos, emus, lizards, and a massive array of bird life. You can also explore Mudawinji by foot. The park has to offer a number of different hiking routes where you can check out everything the park has to offer. One of the places it has on offer is Mudawinji Gorge, a fantastic gorge where flowing water actually runs through, a relief to the hot and dry desert. I'm at the top of the ranges at the moment, and just check out the spectacular view we've got up at the top of the ranges. I mean, really, doesn't get too much better than this. Mudawinji has plenty on offer, so teenagers and your families, be sure to come and explore it yourselves.
So I think it's really important to get off the couch because there's so much to look and listen to and see throughout the whole of the country, and these places here have a lot more to offer than the couch. You can being out there and being a part of it is a lot more in here than what it would be on the couch.
After the break, I'll be checking out the Mudawinji Historic Site within the Mudawinji National Park. Then, I'm heading south to check out all the things Kinchega National Park has on offer. I'll be right back after this. Welcome back, guys. I'm currently on my Outback New South Wales road trip. I've already seen some pretty awesome places, but right now I'm in Mudawinji National Park, and I'm going to be checking out the Mudawinji Historic Site, where you can go on tours with a local tour guide.
What I do, that we do out here in the historic site, they're one of the ceremonial places. It was the centre place for teaching and sharing different stories. And when you come out here and you experience one of our tours, it opens your eyes up to the broader knowledge of what these places were really for and how vast the knowledge is.
The eye-opening tour teaches you about how Indigenous Australians lived out in this area, and you'll learn some different tricks on how they survived.
On this side of the tree, on the branch up here, there's dirt. The dirt sticks to the tree, and on this side it doesn't stick. So we know that way is the cold winter, and this way is the summer, hot that way. you go down the cold country, our big rains come from this side of the tree. That's the big rains we get, northern rains, and the cold winds and rains from that way, and the frost. So that's south and that's north on this tree.
Murruwinji is a place of knowledge. There's plenty of stories that were told here by Indigenous Australians, and they left their mark quite literally in the ground, which is pretty awesome to see today.
So this was the place where we told these knowledges, and that's why they were gathering places to meet and share those knowledges. Big certain things you see on here are large kangaroos, large emus, emu tracks, kangaroo tracks. You're seeing boomerang-like stuff. So what does that look like to a lot of people? Everyone asks if it's Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi.
Murruwinji is a meeting place. Different Indigenous tribes would have met up at the land now known as Murruwinji. They would have traded with each other, they would have shared knowledge, and you can still see this evidence here in the park today. Near the end of the tour, you're taken up the side of a cliff, checking out one of the most impressive things the park has on offer.
This is what I call the attendance sheet. This is the attendance sheet, and this is our signature. Our signature to show our name, is show who we are, where we come from, and what we participated in here. So after the ceremonies would happen, the younger children, they would all go with the initiated men. They'd go and look at stuff. They'd get taught about the stories. Once they go out and do certain little initiations themselves, they'd come up here, and these sites are still used. Like I'm teaching all you now. These are like the next generations coming through in our area that you haven't already seen, and that's the teaching, what we teach now.
Our tour guide has been stressing the importance of passing on this information to all Australians and about how we all need to learn about how Indigenous Australians used to live and the importance of their culture. I've got to say, it's amazingly inspiring. The tour I did at the Murruwinji Historic Site was absolutely fantastic. When you come out to Murruwinji, I totally recommend that you do one of these tours. It's an absolutely spectacular site out here in Outback New South Wales. While we were at Murruwinji, we actually encountered a fair bit of rain, and by the time we left the park, some of the roads were actually closed. Anyway, the next stop on my Outback New South Wales trip is Menindee. It's located about 100 odd k's south of Broken Hill. Menindee is actually a pretty cool little town, but there's something else here which is pretty spectacular. You see, back in the 60s, a man-made lake scheme was set up out here at Menindee. Water would be flooded in from the Darling River to fill up massive big reservoirs. Not only did this help save water, but it also provided a bit of a holiday destination for those that lived and worked at Broken Hill. Now, there's been water in the Menindee Lakes area for quite some time. However, due to the massive drought this area is experiencing, water had to be put back into the drought-stricken Darling River. What this means though is Menindee Lakes are now completely dry. Instead of a foreshore retreat for those at Broken Hill, Menindee Lakes now looks like this. Now, there is still other water around in some of the other smaller lakes, so don't worry, but it is just another reminder of how we need to be very careful with how we use our water. But it's not so much the lakes I want to see out here. I'm here to check out a national park just outside the town of Menindee. It's Kinchega National Park. Well, this is Kinchega National Park, just off the little town of Menindee, about 115 kilometres south of Broken Hill. The park's situated right along the Darling River. Now at Kinchega there's plenty to do. You can check out the amazing wildlife around the place, camp by the river and admire the beautiful massive big gum trees. You can check out some of the historical buildings around the place. There's plenty to do, so let's go have a look around. Kinchega National Park gives you another taste of Outback New South Wales. You can camp right along the Darling River under some spectacular, massive big gum trees. You can go for a stroll around the park and check out all the amazing wildlife it has to offer. You can still see ruins of some of the old homesteads that were out here, but there's one building in particular that stands out far from the rest. It's been preserved for over 100 years and you can come and see it today out here in Kinchega. Well, the Kinchega National Park is home to a number of different historical sites, including the one I'm at now, the historic Kinchega Woolshed. Now, back in the 1870s, the land that the National Park is on used to be a part of a huge sheep station. Now, amazingly, about 65 shearers would be working all at once in this shearing shed, shearing all the sheep. Now, you can come out and visit the woolshed and see what it was like for the shearers that would shear the sheep back in those days. I've got to say, it's pretty impressive. The best way to learn new things is to come out and explore it yourself, and that's what I did out here. So I was really interested to learn about how the shearing would take place back in the late 1800s, so I thought I'd share with you how it all works. So it all starts here at the steam engine, which is a bit like an old train. The farmers and the shearers would load it up with wood or coal to get it burning, and once it'd be burning, it'd spin big turbines, which would move rods which go into the machine room. So here in the machine room, the rods that were turned outside by the big steam engine would then spin these sort of concoctions of metals and materials, which is pretty amazing considering they built all this in the 1800s, which would then keep moving up into the actual shearing shed, which would then spin these huge rods which run all the way along the edge of the shed. Now, once these big rods were spinning, you could individually switch on and off at each shearing station the clippers. Meanwhile, at the other end of the shearing shed, you might get the sheepdogs to round up the sheep and push them into the yards at the end of the shed. Come on, guys! Then you might leave the sheep in the yards outside overnight so they can sort of get settled in, but most importantly, let any poop they've got out seep out in between the floor so it doesn't stink out the place. Then you bring the sheep into the shed, and then the sheep would wait in these yards until the shearer over here at the station was ready to go, where they'd grab the sheep. Come on, sheep. Give them the big shear. There goes your hair. And then outside they go. On to the next sheep. The Kinchega Woolshed really is quite an awesome place, and it gives you a real picture of what it must have been like working out on sheep stations in the 1800s. Now, if old buildings aren't your thing, you can always sit and enjoy one of the longest rivers in Australia. Well, this is the Darling River. Now, the Darling River is a part of the Murray-Darling River system, the longest river system in Australia. The Darling River starts up in Queensland, flows down through New South Wales, then at Wentworth near Mildura meets up with the Murray River, which then flows into South Australia and out at the Murray mouth near Goolwa. Well, unfortunately, much of the Darling River around this area looks like this. Sadly, this area has been experiencing a massive drought and there hasn't been an inflow of water for 3 years. It's just another epic reminder from nature about us as a human race needs to be really careful and really think about how we use our precious water resources, especially in Australia when this is really all we've got. I can almost guarantee that your time at Kinchega will be a fantastic experience, and without a doubt you'll learn plenty of new things about Australia. Kinchega, another taste of Outback New South Wales. After the break, I'll be checking out Lake Mungo, a World Heritage Site that plays a crucial role in Australia's history. Want to know what it is? Well, stick around. I'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone. If you are or you know a young person that's positively impacted their local community, worked hard to raise awareness about a particular topic, has developed and put in place their own initiatives and ideas, or has achieved outstanding results in a particular field, I want to hear about them. Head across to offthecouchwithethan.com.au/young people off the couch episode so you can put in a nomination for a young person. These people are going to be featured in a very special episode of Off the Couch with Ethan. Hurry, nominations close soon. Well, back on my Outback New South Wales trip, I've already checked out some awesome places around Mutawinji, and I've just been checking out Kinchega National Park near Menindee. Now I'm heading south of Menindee to a World Heritage listed area. It's MUNGO National Park. Well, this is Lake Mungo. It's situated about 120 kilometres north of Mildura, right in the southwest region of New South Wales. Now, Lake Mungo is a part of MUNGO National Park, which is actually a part of a World Heritage Area. Now, you might look out at Lake Mungo and go, why is this a World Heritage Area? There is literally nothing around. Well, I'm about to tell you the world significance that Lake Mungo has. Let's go check it all out. You see, back in the 60s and 70s, this guy called Jim Bowler from the University of Melbourne was checking out the Willandra Lakes region, where Mungo Lake is. Anyway, when he was doing some geological work, he stumbled across a couple of human skeletons. That's right, human remains. He thought they might be remains of Indigenous Australians. Now at the time, people only believed that Indigenous Australians had inhabited the land for about 20,000 years. When Jim Bowler got the remains tested, they came back to be 40 to 60,000 years old. This completely rewrote Australia's history books, and hence the area became a World Heritage Site. Now I know it doesn't look like much at Lake Mungo today, and asides the fact that this area is a world-renowned historic site, there is something else that's pretty special here. You can go out on a tour with a local Indigenous tour guide and go across to what's known as the Walls of China on the other side of the lake, and they are absolutely breathtaking. Well, out here on the edge of Lake Mungo lies the very impressive Walls of China. Now you see, back when Lake Mungo had heaps of water in it, all the sand that was in it eroded away, but these big massive pillars were a bit harder, so they sort of stood the test of time. And now you can sort of come out here with the tour guide and check out these awesome walls and get some amazing photos, and they're just super impressive to look at. When you walk around the Walls of China, you actually feel like you're walking on Mars. It is absolutely breathtaking. Then once you get past the Walls of China, you get to these super smooth sand dunes. Now, there's massive big dunes there, some of which stretch 20 metres high, and there's something that we've all probably always wanted to do, but maybe never got the chance. Well, here at Lake Mungo, you can do just that. You know what I'm talking about? Rolling down a silky smooth sand dune. Oh man. Now that really was a lot of fun, although I probably wouldn't recommend it if you're susceptible to breaking bones. Anyway, Lake Mungo. It's a fantastic area that's got some world significance right in our backyard. Be sure to go check it out. Well, that pretty much wraps up my Outback New South Wales trip. I've seen some pretty awesome places on this trip, learned all about Broken Hill's history, saw the iconic town of Silverton, was enlightened by Indigenous Australian stories at Mudawinji, saw the effects that drought can have at Menindee, and learnt about the world significance of Lake Mungo. Now I did this trip in about a week, but you can do it in as little or as long as you want. You might just go out and visit a specific place I've showed you, or you might make this trip a part of an even bigger trip. Whatever the case, I totally recommend that you, teenagers and your families, go out and visit Outback New South Wales. It'll be such an eye-opening trip and you'll learn so much more about your country. And just the time spent with your family or friends makes the whole trip so much better. Well, that wraps up my Outback New South Wales trip. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and you've found some inspiration to get off the couch yourself and come visit Outback New South Wales. It's such a great area and there's so much to do. Now make sure you head to my website, offthecouchwithethan.com.au, where you can catch up on all the latest episodes, and be sure to like me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram to keep up to date with my travels. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show, and now get off the couch yourselves and head out to Outback New South Wales. And as always, I'll see you on my next trip. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and now it's your turn to get... It's alright, keep it going, it's okay. Now in this episode, I'm heading out to Western New South Wales. Oh no, that's the name of the thing, I've got to finish with that. To see some of the awesome places that the Outback... Now, the Darling River starts all the way up the top of Queen... Oh, that's not entirely true. Follow me on Instagram to keep up to date with my travels and anything else I'm up to. It's a bit odd. Just leave it at that.